Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. Thank you for joining me today. Your host, Dr. Izzy Hajamil, and today I have an inspirational, one of the most inspiring and badass person that I've known, even though I've known him for a short while, but he is absolutely incredible, always pushing the boundaries over and over and over again, Mr. Dennis Postema. And he is, oh my God, a truly serial entrepreneur. Like, he started multiple business, he has multiple business. Not only that, he's also a certified life and business coach, personal trainer, health coach, multiple #1 international best-selling author. He's also the founder of motivationandsuccess.com and several other foundations and organizations, including a TV network. So Dennis, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's such an honor to be here.
Thank you. And today, Dennis and I, we decided to be a little bit uncomfortable and talk about being the best, like the best of the best, the cost and the payoffs. Because it's easy to I want to do this, but it takes everything to be at the top. So Dennis, tell us, what is your definition of being the best in what you do?
Well, my definition of being the best would be showing up every single day and putting your best foot forward and giving. I say whenever I say giving 110%, a lot of people get upset about that. But really, giving your best is what we really want to do, because giving your best means if you gave 100%, you would pass out. So if you gave 100% to your workout, you would pass out. If you gave 100% at your job, you would go until you literally were in the hospital. So, and I've done that, but so showing up and giving the best that you can would be probably the explanation of how to, really put your best effort in and put your best foot forward.
Exactly. So put your best forward and showing up every single day. Yes, there are circumstances where you can't show up, life and death circumstances. But, often I've seen people I can't do it. They make an appointment or they make an agreement and then they pull back. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You haven't even tried for it. You haven't even gone even 20% of it. So clearly, Dennis, being the best isn't easy. Otherwise, we'll all be rich by now.
Sure.
But why should we even bother being the best? Why should we even be the best or consider being the best? Because it's hard work.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm a firm believer in, accomplishing all that you're capable of. And that's a big passion for mine, because I believe that God put me on this earth to achieve great things. And I feel guilty when, from the aspect of not giving my all. So you really have no idea what you can accomplish. And we don't accomplish very much compared to what we're capable of. And so my drive is to accomplish as much as I possibly can, because I was given this time, I was given these gifts. We have such a short time on earth, but also there's people who don't have as much time as we do on earth. And I feel like I would be taking my life for granted by not showing up and giving my best to everybody and doing what God has given me as far as my gifts to share with the world.
Absolutely. And then in what you're saying, that being the best, it takes just from being you, right? Yeah. It takes you to other people, the impact, the value, and the things that you could change or at least trickle in or trigger in to change. Now, Dennis talks about do you have any kind of mantra or declaration or prayer that you say every day to kind of help you in staying congruent and staying grounded and solid in your path in helping others?
Well, I start every day, of course, with prayer and meditation, but that's not the thing that gets me through the day. I have devotionals and different ones in different areas of my office and my home and my house to where, whenever certain times throughout the day, I would say 3 times throughout the day, I have to pull one of those out and I have to just take a minute and just refocus and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing and really I really get some written word that's spoken to me that really helps me get through the day. So that's and that takes me back to being grateful and and understand why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. So and then of course before the evening I always have a sit down ritual where I plan the next day. I'm writing down my goals. I'm fundamentally working on my successes so that my subconscious mind can work on that all night long. So when I wake up the next morning, I'm ready to go. So it's a constant, habits that you're putting in force and you're doing daily that's going to make the difference.
Absolutely. So, Janice, I just wanted to take our listeners today to the point when you started. So, okay. What made you start what you're doing today? Was there a point in your childhood or a person that kind of nurture you or inspire or model you in a certain way? So help us pick through to the 5-year-old Dennis or the 6-year-old Dennis when it started.
So I was brought up in a great family. My mom and dad were very inspirational to me. I always tell everybody, if you look back from my life, 0 to 20, you're not talking about any problems. I mean, I played sports. I had a great family. I don't have a big, story of, going through hardship or anything. I was brought up properly, taught very good work ethic. We were never given an allowance. We were always taught that if you wanted to earn money, you could. We baled hay, we pitched manure, we lived on a farm. So I was taught all those things in work ethic at a young age. Of course, at the time, I didn't enjoy it, but I appreciate it so much now. That's just second nature to me. And to be able to, do that. And I started a job at 15 in a machine shop. So I remember it because my buddy and I, we started hanging out and going to movies and going different places. And I was like, Dad, can I borrow money? 2 different weekends in a row. And I said, you know what? I said, if I'm going to start dating and things like that upcoming, I'm going to need money. He goes, you start at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And so at 6 a.m. in the morning, at 6 a.m. the next morning, I started my first job in a machine shop. And that's where it took off from there. So I did that from 15 to 20. And then I was laid off. And I was going to college at the time. And I answered an ad to be a financial representative for an insurance company. And at that same time, so, obviously a little downfall with being laid off, but then starting into a career. Within a few months, I had a mentor there, Roger, who said, Dennis, do you want to make this amount of money? Do you want to do this? And I said, of course I do. He goes, well, then the best thing is to shut up and listen. So I was 20 years old. This guy, I know how he's doing successfully financially. So that's what I did. I was naive. So something you mentioned too in your introduction about the comfort zone. That's one thing. It was never comfortable. And if you're not getting out of your comfort zone every single day, every single week, you're not growing and there's no chance for you to be the best. And that's one of the things he taught me. And of course, my brother supported me very much so before he passed away. So 6 months into my career, my brother passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. That's when I really started to reflect on our time on earth, the time we're given here, and really capitalizing on the talents that we've been given and really accomplishing what we're capable of. So
absolutely. And it's kind of like a couple of points that you touched there is having a mentor, isn't it, Roger? It sounds like the typical mentor, isn't it, Roger, the name Roger, and the things that he said, shut up and listen.
Yes.
Of thing. No, because I feel that if Roger were to be like, Dennis, I think, and then you get that whatever, Roger, I feel that as a leader, you got to be able to not pussyfoot around things.
Yes.
Give it to you straight, because otherwise you'll be like, hey, I'm just going to go off dating. There wasn't like that. So And then the second thing that you talked about is being uncomfortable. Oh my God, like who wants to wake up early in the morning? Who wants to do this? Who wants to do this? So I want to touch the first point. In being the best, it's also being about being a leader. Like, how do you see yourself as a leader? I mean, what kind of leader are you? And what kind of leader do you feel that people are moved towards?
Well, and trust me when I tell you, leadership is something I'm always working on, because I definitely can. It's always something you can improve, because people respond to different types of leaders. One of my best way of leadership is leading by example. So I think that it's really good when I have followers or people that I train who can watch and learn from examples. So I get up early, I do the workouts, I put in the work, and I lead that way. The only problem I would say to people out there is that's a great example and that's a great form of leadership. But remember, the bigger you get and the bigger your team is, people are motivated by different things. So just because somebody responds well to a leader who leads by example, somebody else needs an authoritative figure, and somebody else needs a nurtured somebody with empathy. So there's also, we can all constantly improve. The bigger you get with an organization, the more you have to work on your leadership skills. It's a constant battle for me. I know I cannot improve on leadership enough to lead a team, because everybody's different, right? So, you're dealing with constant change in your leadership skills to help grow your people and maximize your team.
Absolutely. So, like being a leader, I know that people, well, you have your own things to do on one side, but at the same time, you have people wanting things from you, from either your team member or outside organization or what have you not. So how do you keep your sanity? Like, how do you put the boundaries around that so that, hey, this is what's important to me, and this is how I'm gonna take care of this. Also about saying no. Oh my God, no, I can't say no, that appeals to people. So talk about that aspect of creating boundary and staying in your lane.
Yeah, well, I would phrase it properly. And Jim Rohn is very good at explaining how to say no. If somebody says something to you, you say, hey, I don't think that's feasible or possible for me at this time, but I'll get back to you if I can do it. And then you're letting them know that really there's just not enough bandwidth in the day for me to take on everything that I'm doing. But I am passionate about it. I understand what you're saying, and if I can help, I will definitely do that. So I think that, and as far as the sanity thing, the verdict's still out on that, whether I'm, so with what I do on a daily basis. But I will say something that helps me is I keep my standards so high for myself. So my expectations for myself are so high that I don't allow myself. And so when I hold other people to a high standard, it's because I don't hold anybody to less standards that I would hold myself. So I constantly hold very high standards for myself. And that's what sets me apart on a daily basis, and helps me reach the goals that I want to hit.
Absolutely. I think about setting standards, and the guy that pops to my mind is Tom Brady. He is, 44 years old. He's still playing football like more times than anyone I've ever known. Look, I don't even know about American football. It's not what I grew up. I only know they kick the ball to the goal, right? That's all that I know. So I don't know about anything else. But I do know what you're saying about, and similar to Tom Brady, it's about having your standards that is way bigger than anyone else, to go for it, even if Tom Brady is at 44. Like, people retire at 30, like almost 30 on any kind of professional sports, because it takes a toll in their body. So kind of like, I just want to hone in of you having that standards. One, is it not going to be exhausting on you having those high standards to yourself? And two, if you kind of like break down on your standards, what are the ways that you can do to nurture yourself or pull yourself back up again? Because it's going to happen over and over again.
Sure. The first thing, there's a lot of good points there. The first thing with breaking down on your standards is create habits. You have to create success habits and success fundamentals. You have to be fundamentally sound and have those habits going every single day, or it'll just fall apart because the noise and the squeaky wheel just comes in, and it's very easy to fall apart. So you have to have those time chunks and those habits enforced. The other thing that I want to touch on, and I heard John Maxwell say it best, you want to get to where I am, but are you willing to do what I did to get here? Tom Brady, very good point that you brought up there is people aren't willing to do the sacrifices. Tom Brady doesn't drink. Tom Brady is, I think he's vegan. I mean, he's eating all the right things. His body is probably the age of a 25-year-old man, so that's why he's playing at his highest level and being his best self, is because he has sacrifices that he's put in his life and habits that he's put in his life that has allowed him to excel at such a level. Now, people, may hate on him or not appreciate how great he is, but that's just a lot of jealousy for the fact that he's willing to make those sacrifices to play at the level that he plays at. And so I commend him for doing that, because a lot of people want the end result, but they don't want to make those sacrifices to get there.
Absolutely. And one of the things, like Tom Brady, like he was interviewed when he had the Super Bowl or something. Sorry, I don't know the technology like correctly, but I know it's like the big game. And then one of the reporters asked him, "So are you going to watch back the Super Bowl?" He's like, "No." And the people are like, "What? How could you?" But the thing is, Tom Brady is a player. He's not a fan.
Yeah.
And the same with you. You're a player. You're in the game, playing it, versus on the sidelines of, watching. Do you know how many? I remember when I first started my online transitioning to online world started, and the first thing they tell you is choose a niche. I'm like, okay, how many niche I would choose? Okay, I just did that one. And then a few years on, there's still people, I'm just researching on my niche, whereas I've moved on and, multiple niche. So talk about, I know this is something that is resonating with you. How do you transition between a fan to player, like in the court, in the field, playing? Because it's a scary transition. It's scary. What if I fail? What if I make it? What if people judge me? So with your experiences and going on multiple businesses, tell me, what's your wisdom, Dennis?
Well, my wisdom there is very simple. So do not overthink and have paralysis analysis. Do not, like, my brother is 10 times smarter than me, and he really analyzes everything, right? And I am not that way. I know I drive him crazy because I am just go. I get from the point of being a fan to being a player, make that as short as possible. Just go. Do not, I think in Nike, when I say just do it, don't think about it. Don't listen to anybody. Obviously do your research. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to be crazy and put a gamble on it. But listen, you need to just go, because if you look at Amazon when it started, if you look at Facebook when it started, it is not perfect. Our television network is not perfect right now, but darn it, we're going to try every single day to improve. And eventually, hopefully we get to one of those big platforms like those things, but you have to just go and do it. If you think about it, or you talk to 10 people who have never done it, we get advice from so many people, just bad advice. Stop talking. If you want to talk to somebody who's either completed it, or watch their YouTube video, listen to their podcast like we're doing right now. There's so much free information to improve on your life. Don't listen to the bad. Don't get advice from people you shouldn't be listening to, because there's all sorts of free advice out there that is horrible. So just go out and do it. And that's my biggest key, is do not overthink it. If you think about it, there's all sorts of reasons that mistakes will come in and doubt. If you just go and do it, you don't have to worry about that.
And I really like your idea, okay? And just do your research, but take it the shortest time possible. In other words, not, waiting months or weeks, take it longer, because the longer the fear creeps in, and then you're being paralyzed and stop. What's the worst that could happen? You could probably lose some money or whatever it is, right? But it's the lesson that you learn when you kind of like jumping in to the start, and I'm like, okay, I want to do this. All right, I'm just going to do it. Versus I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to talk to this person and that person. I'm going to read on this book. I'm going to watch this, and then 2 years on, still at the same place. So, Dennis, what have you learned in terms of the lessons that people are so scared to fail? Whereas Brian Tracy said in his book that 70% of the time we make mistakes. I'm like, for God's sake, okay, 70% leave you 30% to make it right. But what have you learned in the last 20 years or so, or throughout your life, that when you failed is actually one of the biggest lessons, the biggest miracle, the biggest turning point in your life?
Well, I think, not to generalize, but I think one of the best things I heard, so I never see anything as a failure. I see something as a learning experience. So, the best thing I remember, it was way back, probably 19 years ago, I was listening to a marketer say, well, you should just go out and try it, because the best thing you can do is try something and it not work, because then from a marketing perspective and getting sales leads and whatnot, that specific route doesn't work. So now not to do that one next time. If because everything, these ideas are meant to be good sales pitches, right? So it sounds like a good idea. So if you try it and learn that it doesn't work, that's just that's one notch that you can throw out and learn from. The biggest mistakes I think that the hardest mistakes I should say is really, again, focusing on leadership and teamwork and really improving. It took me a long time to learn to lead better. And that's and understanding that not everybody learns the same way. Those are my toughest lessons, because just thinking, well, this is how I teach. You just need to learn that way, period. That's not the way it works, no matter how much I want it. And the other thing I will say, and it took me a lot of expensive coaching to get through this, is some people don't want to be motivated. Some people don't want to play at the level you want to play at. And if you're trying to fix those people that don't want to fix themselves, you're just spinning your wheels. And that took me a lot of expensive teaching and going back to coaching and mentoring. It's something I knew, but I would just spin my wheels on it daily. Like, oh, they're so talented. Why don't they do it this way? But you can't help somebody who's not willing to put in the work. And that's what I learned the hard way.
So, because you care, Dennis. It's about because you care. You want something good for them. You see what could be possible. But, at the end, there'll be a point where you just got to let go and let God, isn't it? Because you can't inspire, they just got to be willing to do it. They got to be open and ready and willing. And, talking about when you were younger, what was the thing that people said about you that you felt not really a bad thing, but but it's what makes you a best leader? I'll give you an example. For me, people always call me bossy and demanding and everything. But when it comes to school project, guess whose group they want to be in? Mine. Because I get the job done, and I get it. It wasn't about bossy or anything, because of the standards. I have a vision. This is what it takes to be the best. So what was it that people say about you that actually it is one of your best qualities to be a leader?
Well, that's very easy for me. So I always wanted to play in the NBA, and obviously I just didn't get the height for it, but that's just an excuse. But so one of the things that for me, people always said I was too serious and I expected too much when it came to even now, if me and my younger brother go and pick up and go play one-on-one at a basketball game, him and I are both wired the same way when it comes to that. You would think that we were paying for $1 million. I mean, we just kill each other out there. So there is and that's our fun, by the way. So our expectations of playing any sport or anything we do with work, goes back to expectations. I remember people in the locker room being like, why are you so serious and so mad? Because if you're going to play the game, play it right. Right. So I'm so serious when it comes to that. It's the same thing in business. If you're going to play it, my expectations are here. So many people have, beer budget standards on champagne dreams. Right. So I just have these standards that if you're going to play, if you go to the gym, go to the gym, give 110%. If you're going to go to the gym, I hate it when I go to the gym and people are texting and just hanging around the weights talking. it's like, why are you there? If you're going to go to work and work. If you're going to have family time, if you're going to spend time with your children, spend quality time with your children, but give 100%, be present. And that's where I think that I was probably a little bit ridiculed, didn't care. I was a lot cockier then. My health has knocked me back a little bit, but it's really helped me in the standards in business as well.
Absolutely. And those people at the gym that are taxing, they're probably like, it's like a pickup meat store, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
kind of thing. But there's also this guy in football. Is it Jerry Hall? I think it's Jerry Hall. He's a footballer. He's one of I forgot, a linebacker or quarterback or whatever position he plays. But one of the things that makes him one of the top is, number one, he's the first in and the last out.
Yeah.
He doesn't come in at 2 minutes before or 1 minute. He just comes in like 1.5 hours. Like 1 hour, like crazy. Like, who does that? And then the second thing with him is that every time the ball touches his hand, he goes all out. Every single, just like you on the court, you would just go all out for it. And the rest of the team members, they would go maybe, 20%, 30%. But Jerry Hall is the type that goes all out. And for someone who doesn't know football, knows quite a few things, because I love sport. I used to play sports. But isn't that the case, Dennis? When you have the ball on your hand, you do not let it touch the ground to the finish line.
That's beautifully put. I agree completely. Yeah, you need to be giving your all that entire time. I often think of Kobe Bryant whenever he was interviewed about how he practiced. If he went in and he practiced 2 hours from 4 to 6, and then took a break and practiced from 8 to 10, and then took another break, and he practiced 4 different 2-hour sessions throughout his day, and his competitors just played for 2 hours. You get that much further ahead than your competition. And there's no such thing as competition after a few years, because there's just no way for them to catch up. So that's one of the things that helps me go.
Brilliant. It's just, the everything, like you said, showing up, the everything, and, not let the ball touch the ground, basically like 110% all the time. Because often I see quite a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches, they just started their business, got a few clients. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the marketing. I don't want to do the sales. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I mean, the number one rule of business is sales. Like, otherwise, any business is going to go under the ground, like Blockbuster and Sears. It's sales, isn't it? Like, if you look at yes, there are other factors, but the number one is sales. They're not making enough money to do that. It's just, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I just want to do what I love, my passion, and the money will follow. I'm going to call BS on that because it's not the truth, isn't it? Follow your passion, plus being the best, plus not letting the ball drop, plus being uncomfortable, plus this. So tell me, what's your formula, Dennis? Because you're doing amazing things, following your passion, but people just see the passion part, but they're not willing to do the hard work. So tell me, what's your formula that's going to complete, follow your passion and fill in the blanks?
Well, you definitely, you nailed it right on the head. You have to constantly improve your sales skills to where your selling is not really selling. You're helping your customer. You have to figure out exactly that formula, how to properly encourage someone to better themselves. That's what really selling is. And you know what? Nothing happens, and I mean in any business, nothing happens until some form of a sale is made. And if you want to, the quickest way to success is figuring out how to make sure your customers are taken care of from that sales perspective. Everything else can be fixed. If you don't have your sales fixed, if you don't have that portion of your business or even your life, whether it's relationships or whatever, if you don't have that portion of your business fixed, nothing else will work. Nothing else. I always say production fixes everything. So, if you think you don't have enough time in the day, go produce and do really, really well here. You'll find time for paperwork. You'll find time for marketing. You'll find time for all those things if you're out producing and you're out selling. So those things, that is such an intricate part. If you are in business and you have not learned sales skills, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's just the way it is. It's just, you have to learn it. just to be able to be good at customer service, you have to learn sales skills. Because again, if you have an upset client, that you've got to be able to handle that properly and make sure that they're taken care of.
Absolutely. That's so important. And I feel that, watching my kids, right? I feel that they're natural sales superstar. They're born as natural sales. So like, how many times they asked me to do things or buy things for them, or do so many different things that are natural. And when I say no, they ask again. They ask again. They ask again, to the point I'm like, okay, just over the weekend, my kids was like, "Mommy, we want to go to Target." And they wanted to buy stuff. I'm like, oh, mommy's so tired. Mommy, we want to go to Target. Mommy, we need to buy this, mommy, and this, mommy. Don't worry, mommy. I've got my own money, mommy. Don't. To the point that I took both of them to Target. It's just, I feel that it's natural, right? Getting sales is natural, but because of life experiences, we put a block on it to it's a natural talent.
Yeah. My dad was really good at showing me. We'd go to flea markets for saddles and different things when I was young. And he'd have me go and negotiate the price for a saddle or things like that. And also I went out and sold for 4-H. I sold raffle tickets. So I had so many experiences like that taught me so much that's it. Like you said, if you keep that kid inside you, which you mentioned last week when we were talking, you'll really, and you're not afraid of rejection. It's just that natural.
Absolutely. So one of the things about being the best, and you've mentioned it, couple of things, and I'm just gonna put it out there, is about having teams.
Yeah.
Because Dennis, you wouldn't be here if you haven't got teams. That's why learning, being a good leader, an exemplary, extraordinary, inspirational leader is important to you. So talk about the teams, because quite a few of the times, even me myself having teams, I would just rather do it on my own. It's just easier, it's just faster, it's just quicker with a team. Then I have to train them and explain them and then check it, blah, 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 blah. So, but to be the best and to be the level that you want, you can't be on your own. So talk about your tips of creating a good team that is in alignment with your principles and values. And and how do you kind of inspire them, grow them, handle them, even when there's conflict, even when there's up, or even when it's down?
Well, first of all, my best advice that I can give here is staff your weaknesses. So you need to know your strengths and you need to play your strengths and you need to stay in that zone. Whatever keeps you in flow as an individual, that's where your 80% of your focus needs to be. And then you need IT work or marketing or all those different areas. You need to staff your weaknesses and make sure that you create the best team in each one of those areas that you're not good at, because me doing computer skill work is just a detriment to everyone involved. So it's just not going to happen. I was excited when I uploaded the headshot of my picture for your podcast. So, that's just something that no matter what, I don't have a passion for it. It's not a strength. It's a waste of my time to even learn it, because I am so focused on what I'm doing. So you need to staff your weaknesses, and that's one of the things. And then you need to learn to delegate. Delegating is not easy, because you, if you do it right yourself and you know it's going to get done in a timely manner, and you don't, it's hard to pass it off. Even knowing that they may only get 85% of it finished, it's still hard to pass that off, because nobody's going to care about your business as much as you. So what you need to do is try to find people that care. At least I always say, I want it to be in the top 5, right? So I'm not saying to put my business before your kids, before your wife, before your husband, before your family. I'm not saying that, but I'd like to be in the top 5 of things that you care about, so that at least I know that I'm on the radar of something you want to make sure happens properly. And so, and again, you constantly have to work on leadership. Conflict resolution is probably 80% of any leader's day. It's just the way it is. Getting people to get along, getting them to, not gripe about each other, keeping a positive atmosphere. And just keep trying your best, because no matter what, one bad duck, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And that is so true in every team. And don't forget that.
Absolutely. So coming on kind of towards the end now, one of the important aspects about team is your partner.
Yeah.
right? Because when you have like there's this mindset, you can either have a really successful career or business, or you have a successful relationship, but you can't have both because there's a conflict. So I know you have a wife, you've shared with me before, and you've
Yep.
been together for some time. So what kind of tips or what kind of role that you have to ensure that you have both? Because one thing about partnership or marriage is that it takes the same amount of commitment, if not more, in your personal life and in business. Like you got to choose to be on it, in it. You got to choose to work on it. So, what's the secret, Dennis, in having that a career, and then when you go home, you have the warmth, the cuddles, the kisses, the hugs, the chilling out time? So, what's the secret to that?
I think you definitely need to know what your boundaries and what your goal is with your relationship, and what your important triggers are, as well as your significant others. So like one thing for me is making sure like my wife knows that I can't take her being a dream crusher. And so she does not crush any of my dreams. I've dated dream crushers. I've been with dream crushers before, and it just does not work with my personality, as you can imagine. It just like my level of confidence and self-esteem just hits the floor. So no matter what, anything else, that's a boundary for me that I've learned the hard way through life. The other thing is I tell my wife that if I'm going to go and I'm going to put in these hours and I'm going to kill myself for however many hours a day, you get to plan the vacations, you get to plan the travel, and that's my 100% time with you. So when you want to plan, so I'm completely okay with you doing that and us really taking time. That's where I think has been very effective in my relationships is taking time and we just got back from, we're having a baby, and we just got back from a vacation before about 2 weeks ago. And it was amazing. It was just our time to just really reflect before our child comes into this earth, and really just spend time together, just us, no distractions, no anything else, just enjoying each other's company. So you got to make sure you make time for those things. Otherwise, you may have the most successful career in the world, but like you said, your relationship's falling apart. And you don't want vice versa either, because a great relationship with no career is not good either.
Absolutely. So, like coming to the end, Dennis, what's your biggest advice or wisdom to anybody that's listening about being the best? Like, is it worth it? Should I go for it? So, or is it just cool to stay where they are if that's what they so choose for? So, what's the biggest advice and wisdom that you can share?
It's a very simple process, but it's hard work. So even if you say, oh, work smarter, not harder, you still have to put in the work. All those people on the internet and those CEOs with the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis and whatnot, if they've made it there, yes, of course, everybody, there's the lottery winnings and whatnot. But if you want to really get there, you have to put in the work. You have to raise the level of game that you're playing. You have to set those expectations high. Absolutely, it's worth it. But don't think it's going to be overnight. I'm a 19-year overnight success. I tell people that all the time. So you have to put in the work. And then you never know, if you're constantly putting in the work, one break could change your entire life. But if you're not showing up and you're not working every day and getting to that next level and playing it at a higher level, then you'll never get there.
Absolutely. So what's one key action? Something simple, something doable that people can do today in the step in becoming the best?
I would say write down your goals every single morning and every single night. Even if it's your 3 top goals, write them down every night and write them down every morning, because you have to hold yourself accountable, because nobody else is going to do it. If you don't do it, you will never reach the goals that you want. You have to write them down every morning and every night.
And there's something about writing things down, isn't it, Dennis, versus like in your head?
Yep.
Yes, there's visualization and everything, but it's just something about writing it down that just make it a little bit more real in the creation and manifestation of that. So let's end with this, Dennis. What's one fun thing that people don't know about you? And you can't say basketball because you already mentioned basketball. So what's one fun thing that people don't know about you?
In 2000, I was the Defiance County 4-H king.
Okay, what was that? Are you winning a bull or what?
At 4-H, so I rode horses, and so I was the county fair king. in the year 2000 when I was 18 years old. So I'm actually royalty, but it's only in the 4-H world. So that's probably a lot of people don't. And I rode horses, so I love riding horses. So a lot of people don't know that about me.
That's awesome. My daughter loves horses. Her dream is to have a pony one day. So she had a dream, and as a result, she needed to make money. So she wrote a book. But she would love talking to you all about horses and ponies. And she even enrolled me, like, mommy, when I have a horse, you're gonna come and feed the horse every day. I'm like, for God's sake, like I'm gonna have to feed a pony now. So
assuming the sale,
cool.
I love it.
Thank you. And that's so cool. So you were the king for the horse? I mean, like in the championship?
For the whole county fair. So it's each county has a fair. I was the king that year. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. Thank you so much, Dennis, for hanging out today. And Dennis and I, we can talk the whole day long. And it would just like be so fun to have a conversation with him. So thank you so much, Dennis, for today. And send my regards to your wife.
Yes.
And thank you so much for listening to all of you. This is your host, Dr. Izdiha Jamil. And tell yourself, yes, I can. And so it is done. Thank you so much. Say bye, Dennis.
Thank you so
bye,
much.
bye.
I appreciate it. Yep. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.